Yeah, high school to now.
Got it. So got into high school. I was a pretty small kid, probably 5'5", 5'7", just about 100 pounds, maybe not even. Wasn't a very good baseball player, but I worked hard all the time. I was in the gym every day, taking swings, all that, working out, everything, just wasn't really growing.
Yep.
Once I was from my sophomore to my junior year, I grew from about 5'7", 5'8", all the way up to 6'3". And then my junior year, I was a 6'3" high school second baseman that was not a very good baseball player still, pretty much like a baby deer, not very fast, not very strong. And then I started to kind of build my athleticism from there. Grew into it a little bit my senior year, but still wasn't that good of a baseball player. Was playing center field now at this time. And then I went to Babson College for 4 years. I had a very tough first year there, struggled a lot. Thought I was going to go in there and play really well based on the summer I had going in, but just struggled right out of the gate. So
What division was that?
definitely that was when I was a what year was that?
What division for high
Oh,
school
that's
or
Division
college?
3, Division 3.
Division
So
three.
Babson's a D3 school, and then I went to a summer league there. My coach gave me some stuff that I needed to work on. I was a little bit stubborn about working on it, but once I actually listened and found out what he wanted me to do, I really noticed the progress I started to make. So came back as a sophomore, played center field the whole year, did really well. We did pretty well. We lost in the regional final that year. It was a heartbreaking day for us. And then next year we went to the College World Series when I was a junior. Had a really good year that year. A lot of fun. That was the best year of baseball of my life. I can't imagine anything topping that. It was a ton of fun. We just had really good success as a team, great team culture, all that stuff. Next year, we played 3 games. COVID, played a top 10 team in the country, beat them 2 out of 3. And then when COVID hit, I started kind of a backyard baseball league at my house. We had a batting cage there already, so I built a dirt mound mostly to hit against my buddies in. And then I started pitching because what else are you going to do when during COVID, right? Everybody was just kind of sitting around in their house. We would go, we'd play baseball until we couldn't anymore. We'd work out. I had a gym at my house as well. And then we would go home. So I started throwing and I got on the mound and I was 93 the first bullpen I threw. And then I got up to 94 the second bullpen I threw. And then I really seriously considered giving it a shot from there. I was committed to Iona as a center fielder at this time and I left throwing pretty hard. So they were in on me being a two-way. And I went there and we got shut down pretty quick in the fall. And I pretty much went all in on pitching in the winter. I figured if I could throw hard, that I'd have a chance to play at the next level.
Yeah.
Did not focus on anything that mattered to be a good pitcher besides velocity, because yes, velocity is important, but there's 100 other things that are important to being an actual good pitcher in a game. Went back for the spring season. I had been up to 96 over the winter, worked really hard at throwing hard, but hadn't worked again at all those little things. So went in first day alive at bats, did terrible. I think I walked everybody I faced. Next time did really well, but I tweaked my arm actually hitting the night practice. So we had our morning practice and then we'd have another practice and you had to go to both if you were a two-way. Didn't really pitch at all that season until I got in one game, didn't throw well at all. Didn't really hit well. I was just super unprepared, to be honest. I did a terrible job preparing and I was not ready to compete at that level as a hitter. So after that, I've just been training as a pitcher for the last since the end of the 2021 season. And now I'm here today. I just had surgery. Well, I didn't just have it. I had surgery about 10 months ago on my rotator cuff. So I'm healing up from that and still going at it. We'll see what happens.
Perfect. And how old are you right now?
I'm 25.
25. Nice. So,
Mhm.
do you wish you kind of went to a JUCO or an NAI or anything like that right out of high school, or would you do it the same way you did?
So I've thought about that. I was a very young college freshman. I was 17 when I showed up on campus, 17 for the first month. And looking back on it, I don't really believe in kind of changing anything that happened on my path. I always say everything you do happens for a reason, right? So I would probably not be the guy I was today without going to Babson. I love that place, love the baseball team there. Couldn't speak higher about the coaching staff, the strength staff, literally everybody just all my teammates too. They really, especially the older guys when I was just getting there, kind of helped transform me into the person I am today. So I wouldn't say I would go back and do it differently, but I do think that I do wonder what it would be like if I just committed to pitching out of high school and maybe did like a prep year or whatever, but I wouldn't actually go back and change it.
How well did you hit in grade 12 there? Like, did you think you were an outlier on your team, or were you just an average hitter?
I was a pretty average hitter, I would say. And then that summer, I made some adjustments to my swing. I had been taught to kind of jump at the ball. If you're a young hitter, definitely don't do that. That's the worst way to hit on the planet. And then I started to implement a leg kick. And that summer I went in and I had Division 1 schools talking to me. I was already committed, so it wasn't too much anything serious, but they were coming up talking to my coach. So when I went into Babson, I thought I was like, I'm gonna dominate here. Like this is a D3 school. Like they what they thought they were getting is not what they're actually getting. Like I just made all these changes. I was crushing the ball the whole summer, breaking balls, playing center field, got way faster, was starting to actually become athletic, but I was definitely in for a rude awakening when I actually got there.
Do you think a lot of kids think about that, about Division 2, Division 3, junior college, NAIA?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of kids don't want to necessarily go that route, but I mean, my team at Babson would compete with my team at Iona any day of the week. There might have been slightly more consistent higher level talent at Iona. We weren't the best Division 1 school, obviously. But I think that that high level D3 school is going to be very comparable to the level you'll see at the lower end D1s. You get those guys who are super outliers at D3 schools. I remember one of the best kids I played against. I have no idea what he's doing now, but he was on MIT. And his last game in D3 baseball, he hit 4 home runs. And right before the COVID shutdown, and it was like left field, left center, center field, right center. And I
Wow.
was like, that, I mean, those are some of the kids you could see in D3 schools. One of our rival catchers is in the Cardinals organization. One kid we played in a regional is also in the Cardinals organization. So there's those guys there that can compete. And I think with the transfer portal, you're starting to see that a lot more because those kids are just hopping up a level and they're doing well. I mean, UConn last year had a ton of guys from the transfer portal kind of playing up. I know one of their couple of the main guys in their lineup were D3 guys, and a couple of them were guys I played against that were really good. So you get to see really good talent everywhere you go, but overall, obviously those higher end Division 1 schools are going to be the best of the best.
The transfer portal has almost made it impossible for high school seniors to get that D1 or even D2 in some cases, because there's guys that have been in college baseball for a year or two now that are going to be better than you because they're just older, stronger, and been training at that level. But
100%. And I coached a summer ball team for, they were high school juniors and going to be juniors and seniors. And we had some kids that were really good that just, I thought should have been getting better looks than they were. And I was talking to some of the coaches and they said, yeah, this kid will probably go to a D3 school. He'll be really good for a couple of years and then he could transfer out and play with us or something along those lines. But the growing pains of dealing with a college freshman are just really tough, as I found out myself. I mean, I had a lot of teammates go through that same thing. 1 year, you grow up so much your first year of college if you are in the right environment.
yeah,
And that really kind of led me to be the player I was. And sometimes you just need to go through those growing pains, but I can't blame the coaches for wanting a more experienced team. Those are going to be the guys that really show up during the game. So,
yeah. Right now, I'm personally looking towards JUCO because I'm Canadian, so
mhm.
it's way harder to get to the bigger schools or even to like the NCAA because you're just not looked at here. You gotta contact coaches and make the effort to go. And I'm only throwing like 83, 84. So hopefully I still have like 7, 8 months before school. So hopefully I can get up to like, I'm hoping 86, 87, but you never know.
For sure, you could definitely do that. And I'll tell you what, there's definitely schools where 83, 84 plays. The best kid on my college team probably threw right around 80 and threw almost all fastballs, but he was an amazing pitcher. He hit his spots and he knew how to use what he had to be successful. So there's definitely a spot for you. And then once you get to that level, just keep chasing it, chasing it, chasing it, working on your stuff. Obviously, you want to throw harder. have better pitches, better off-speed pitches, throw more strikes, all that stuff. But you definitely have what it takes to get in the door. You just need to get somewhere and keep going.
Yeah, I got that two-way thing to go into. I play third as well, and I'm a
Okay.
solid hitter, but yeah, it's definitely a grind to get to that college, and I'm sure it's even more of a grind for those 4 years in college.
For sure, but I'll tell you what, you're gonna love it. It's one of the best times of everybody's lives, in my opinion, and you just get to grow up so much while you're there, and it's really just a overall awesome experience playing college baseball.
Yeah, for sure. Do you play anywhere right now?
I don't. So I played in the men's league last year. I was hoping to play some form of indie ball, but I had a little bit of a problem with the shoulder the entire year last year before I got the surgery. So I prepared, I felt pretty good, and it was just kind of bothering me. I couldn't really throw more than twice a week at high intent, barely even twice a week, most weeks. So I didn't play. I played in the men's league, and then it bugged me the whole summer. I only threw a few times, and a lot of those weren't very good because it was pretty much just trying to get healthy, and I wasn't practicing like I needed to be successful in games consistently. And that's an interesting thing because we all train to throw harder and all that, but you need to be training all the other aspects to be just as consistent if you want to be good at them. Like I got very good at commanding the ball that winter. I was throwing strikes. We were doing live at bats. I really wasn't walking guys. But when you don't practice that, it can go right away. And that mindset that it takes to compete can you can kind of lose it and find it and lose it and find it. And it's tough if you're not consistently working on that stuff. I think that's obviously the most important thing once you are good enough to perform, right? You need to be good at all those other little things that actually turn you into a good pitcher.
Yeah,
So I'm not playing now, and then I'm still trying to come back from this right now.
yeah, indie ball is always it's kind of the thing I want to do if I don't make, it big, because
Mhm.
you still got to play baseball and you still got to do what you love, and it's definitely great baseball, and there's still opportunity there to go to the next level.
For sure. If you show out at an indie ball on an indie ball team, you can get signed. I mean,
Yeah,
my thing was I wanted to become so good that I would have to get signed, right? I didn't want to just be going to play indie ball and trying to be just good enough to play there. I wanted to go there and I wanted to show at such a high level that I have in my Instagram bio become undeniable. And that's like what I was chasing. It's never, the goal isn't just to be good enough, it's to become so good that they can't say no to you. So
yeah,
when you get to that level, then the pro teams are going to have a hard time saying, we don't want that guy that can throw in the upper 90s with a good breaking ball and consistently throw strikes and gets guys out. It's hard to say no to that guy. You know what I mean?
yeah. I just personally got off of surgery on my knee, and I know exactly what you're talking about. First time I picked up a baseball, it was pretty scattered, but
Mhm.
once you start throwing and getting back into it, it can come right back to it, or it can take a long time. For me, it personally, I just it came back to me because muscle memory, and I'm still young, so it was easy to find those spots and like get in
Mhm.
those positions again for pitching. But it was definitely a grueling few months of getting
I
back
hear you.
from surgery.
How's it feeling now?
Still a little tender, but I'm getting back to my first game next week, which I'm really excited
Okay,
for. First
there you go.
scrimmage
You gonna be
game,
throwing or playing the field?
maybe a little both. I have
Okay.
7 games next week, so we'll take it
Oh
easy
boy.
for a little bit. But yeah,
Definitely be smart with that. You need
yeah,
the goal is to be healthy long term, not just
yeah.
for the week, you know?
I know they did my surgery. They gave me two options. They said full repair on the meniscus or just cut it out. They cut it out. I would have had all season to play, but they decided to do full repair. So it took six. It's supposed to take 6 months to heal. It only took
Mhm.
3 because I just healed well. And
Mhm.
so yeah, we got back to baseball. Had my first scrimmage game last week. Hit a bomb my first at bat, which is pretty awesome. And
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
just been working off the mound, just playing catch, trying to feel the ground. It's been
There
really
you
good.
go.
What's
Well,
your
that's
mindset?
awesome.
What's your mindset from coming back from surgery?
So when I went in to get surgery, I had a full tear of my supraspinatus. So essentially I had shredded my shoulder the
Yeah,
worst you pretty much can. And when I saw the doctor, obviously the doctor doesn't see a ton of baseball players up here in Connecticut, the first guy I saw, but he said he was actually a really intelligent guy and I didn't like what he had to say to me, but I can looking back on it see why he said those things to me. He said, you probably should just not play baseball anymore. Like, there's really no chance you're going to be able to throw again. You're not going to pick up a baseball until 9 months after surgery.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize how serious of a issue it was when I got it. Like, when I went into surgery, I remember I was sitting there and they had gave me the laughing gas and I was like, this is awesome. Let's do it. Like, I'm so excited to get my shoulder fixed. And I remember one of the last things I remember was one of the doctors saying to the other guy, like, why is this kid so excited to get surgery right now? I thought it was just going to be like, you get it, you crush your rehab, and
You're back.
it's better because it was my first. I had a thumb surgery, but it was just like a cleanup, so it wasn't really anything serious.
Yeah.
It was the first major surgery I had, and I was just ignorant to the fact of what I was having done to me. But again, you can only control what you can control, so it's just attacking the rehab every day and trying to get back and see what you could do. I like to believe I've been ever since I got surgery. I've said someone's got to come back and throw gas after a full rotator cuff tear. I've tried to find online people who have gone through it, and maybe I'm not seeing the right stuff, but I'm not really seeing anybody who's
Yeah.
done it. So in my mind, someone has to be the guy to do it, and I want to at least find out if I can do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know when I hurt my knee, it was a lot of at the beginning, a lot of sadness and tears, but after the first like, I don't know, day or two when I heard it, I couldn't really straighten it much and I was like, okay, I guess the goal now is to straighten it, see if I can get walking on it and try to heal. Like you can't say
Yeah,
you got to keep going forward.
for sure. And I think that's the biggest key. If you go and you get these surgeries and you don't really try and get better. I've seen guys get surgery and they end up coming back not as good as they were and they didn't really crush their rehab. I've also seen guys get the surgery and they come back and they're the best they've ever been in their career. So you can go about it two different ways. There's no guarantees after you get surgery. Like, your body is being altered permanently, right? So it's way different than it was before, but if you work hard, you can get it back, So I'm very interested to see where I'm able to take it to.
Yeah. Is that part of the reason you started Lightning Labs with other players? That kind of start that off?
So I started that with my buddy Kyle Wilcox. He just finished up playing pro ball this year. We have always kind of talked about doing something like that because we like training other guys. When I was in college, probably partially to a level it even hurt me. I helped out the other guys so much. Like, we would go and we would hit, and I would want the freshmen there, I'd want the sophomores there, junior, senior, like all of us would go and hit together. Big hitting group. It would take forever, but I would kind of just sit there and help all those guys out the best I could. And I think I even did it to a point where it hurt me as a player because I was just not as focused on my own swings and getting in there and being efficient so I could go do the other work. So I always have had it in me. Like, even when I was really chasing this, I had been working with hitters, coaching teams, all that stuff. And when he stopped playing, it was kind of just like a no-brainer for us to get it going and get it started. Again, who knows what happens with his career exactly? Maybe he just picks up a baseball one day and he's throwing gas again and wants to give it a try. I want to see where I can go still, but I love helping players. And if I could do both, I want to do both. But we just kind of figured it was a good time to get it started for us. So we started that up probably a couple months ago. We've been helping out a few guys so far, and it's fun. I love communicating with those guys. A lot of my best friends are guys I've trained with, even as young as 19 years old and as old as Kyle, and even a couple guys older than that who are in their 30s. So I think it's really fun to bring guys together through that and create almost more of like a family than
Yeah.
a coaching relationship. Because I don't want it to be like, all right, here's your program. Send me a text if you feel like it. Maybe I'll get back to you in 4 days. I want it to be like, we're talking every day. We're working through all of the nitty gritty little things that you have. Like, any question you have, I want it to be something you'd be able to be comfortable asking me, right? I don't want it to be like we're strangers at all,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's the way you get the most out of players when you're coaching. So that's kind of what we do. And I think we just have been wanting to coach guys for a while. We always knew we were going to do that whenever it is that would start. We weren't sure because Kyle was playing and I was chasing it, but with the little bit of downtime for both of us, it seemed like a good time to at least get it going and see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. So we were talking earlier that velo is important, but there's so many other things that are important for pitching too. Do you
Mhm.
think in the next 5, 10 years, velo is still going to be the number one thing coaches look at for recruiting, or is it going to become like durability or control?
I think it kind of depends on the school, right? So a lot of those smaller schools like the D3s, they like the guys that are throwing hard because some of them are projects for them. They also like guys who get guys outs. I think it's kind of important. If I was a college coach, right, I'd want some guys that are a little bit safer bets and then some guys that are projects, right? So I think there's a spot for everybody as long as you're, I mean, if you're throwing 68 miles an hour, you're probably not going to find a spot unless you're throwing submarine and throwing these weird pitches, whatever it might be, right? But I think there's a spot for everyone as long as you can get to a high enough level. Obviously, velocity is important, and I think people will continue to recruit off that for the end until the end of time, whenever that is, right?
Yeah.
But I think I think guys are only going to keep throwing harder, and I think that it's just important that you have to keep up with the game if you want to
Yeah.
play at the next level. And yeah, it might be a little bit risky trying to train to throw hard. You see all these guys going after it and getting hurt, but that's just the risk you have to be willing to take if you want to try and play as a pitcher at the next level.
Well, and there's so many people that have not got injured throwing, 97, 98. Like they're not peaking 102 like some guys, but 97 and 98 that'll play easy. Like you can
Certainly,
go anywhere. So
I
if those
completely
guys
agree
can
with
do
you.
it, you can have a chance or at least train the most you can to minimize the injuries.
Certainly. And there's always, I mean, yes, there's definitely ways to go about preventing it and being smart. All it takes is one bad day sometimes to have an injury. And as much as we like to say it's possible, it's definitely less likely to go about it and not get hurt, especially if you're a guy who's really chasing it, similar to what I was doing. I mean, I was doing stuff that was definitely not optimal in terms of health, but I just felt like I needed to if I wanted to push myself to get better. And I think when you get into certain buckets, you could take more risks. But if you're a guy who's a first rounder out of high school and you're throwing 95 and it's really smooth, you probably don't have to take those big risks where you could slowly add a mile an hour a year, be smart about it, get your innings managed, all that stuff that can give you a better chance at being healthy. But at the end of the day, throwing baseball is somewhat dangerous. And if you really want to throw 100 miles an hour, you have to understand that there is a good amount of risk involved with that. But in terms of throwing hard enough for college, you could definitely throw in the high 80s, low 90s. I mean, you see guys, especially left-handers, throwing even in the College World Series last year, high 80s and getting guys out. So there's really a spot for guys like that if you could pitch, but you need to at least get to that level of throwing hard enough for the level that you want to play at.
For kids like me, like 17, 18, looking into college, what should we be striving for as pitchers to get the best opportunity right out of high school?
So I think getting the best opportunity is going to be different for each individual.
Yep.
So it's going to be a different fit for everybody, right? So someone who's looking throwing in the high 90s, right? They might get a good opportunity at Division 1 school. Someone like you might get a good opportunity at a JUCO or a D3 school, or I mean, who knows? Maybe even a Division 1 school. You could be wake up tomorrow throwing 90. I know it's crazy, but I'm sure it's happened to some people, right? So I think in terms of finding the best opportunity, you have to understand who you are as a baseball player and where you're going to fit in. The best opportunity, if let's say LSU offers you, right? Is that the best opportunity necessarily for you? You'd probably go there and not pitch realistically. They don't have guys throwing that speed on their team, right? So that's could be quote the best college, the best team, but it's not the best opportunity. So I think it's looking for a place where there's a role cut out for you potentially, at least. Obviously everybody has to win a spot, but I think it's very important to go somewhere where you see yourself fitting in. And then if you're confident in yourself that you're going to keep progressing and progressing, can progress to one of the better guys on the team, maybe transfer out from there, or just dominate that and see what happens after college, right? One of the guys I played against when I was a freshman in college got drafted as a junior in the 8th round. So D3 guys even can get drafted. You see JUCO guys, D2, all these guys getting picked. You just gotta really get to that level that's undeniable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it shouldn't matter where you are. If you have the stuff, you can play.
Correct. So I think that best opportunity to answer that is just you need to do some research. You need to understand who you are as a baseball player. You need to be realistic about the position you're in, and then find where you're going to fit well, who wants you, and then weigh those options and figure out what the best spot is for you, and then keep working hard and go from there.
Yeah, I see you're a crazy athlete on your Instagram. You can dunk, you can do all these crazy things. Would you say that's from weightlifting or mobility or a little bit of both?
So I was not always like that. Like I said, I didn't dunk until I was a sophomore in college. So I wasn't born like that crazy athlete. I would say it's definitely from training. I think there's pretty much everything I've ever done plays a part into that, right? So when I was in college, I would go to the gym, for example, my lower body days where I would do three exercises. I'd trap bar deadlift, I'd box squat, and I'd reverse lunge, and I'd one rep maximum every single time, and I'd lift as much as I could every single time until it stopped working, where I wasn't getting stronger. But that took me to a really high level, but I was super stiff. So that gave me the power I needed, allowed my body to really adapt, but it wasn't the whole picture. And then I started to work on my mobility and training like an athlete, more so where I'm challenging my body, like something as silly as doing the backflip. It's just like a good challenge for your body to be able to do it. And I would say the big key isn't exactly the training, it's how you train. So every single time I would go in the gym, yes, I'm in there with my buddies. I'll be talking in between sets, whatever it is. But if I am under the bar or if I'm running a sprint or if I'm going to jump or any of these things, I'm doing that with over 100% intent to absolutely obliterate the competition or move the bar as fast as I can or jump as high as I ever have. And I have been doing that for really seriously since I was probably a sophomore in college. And I just have not stopped training with that intent ever. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then just filling in my weak spots. But I think a big part of that too is just training with guys who are at a higher level than you. Like when I started training with my buddy Kyle and we were running sprints and he was beating me every time, I just, even though he probably runs something as low as a 6'2", 60, like he flies. I was just not going to let him beat me for forever. And I slowly started to catch him, and then started beating him and stuff like that. And I mean, that's coming from a guy who ran a 7.29 60 in high school. So I wasn't fast. But if you just consistently work and find your low hanging fruit and crush that and try and get better at that, I wouldn't say there's any exact like getting stronger is good. Yes. Getting more mobile is good. Yes. But I think the biggest thing for me was trying to have zero weaknesses in my body. I want every single, from my toes to my fingertips to my neck. I want everything strong, right? I want everything strong and able to move well. And then training with the intent to become a superhuman. And if you don't believe you can, that's the first problem. And if you don't put in the effort every set, that's the second problem. Even
Yeah.
as a pretty unimpressive high school athlete, I always had this delusional confidence that I was going to be this really high level baseball player and really high level athlete. And I just never stopped chasing it. And there was definitely things, yes, that were not very good that I did. I think I found a pretty good training schedule, but I think it's a lot who you train with as well. And just consistently getting after it and trying to level up. I know that was a long-winded answer and there was kind of a lot of pieces into that, but for example, with the guys I train now, I have a pretty good training schedule where we're lifting heavy, but we're not getting ourselves to that point where we're super stiff. We're doing stuff that's getting our mobility better. We're doing stuff that's getting us faster. And I've kind of combined that all together when I train and when I train people now, as opposed to going through the process I did of getting really strong and being super stiff, slowly opening it up, but still being super stiff, right? So I think there's definitely a best way to do it that includes everything. I see people say you shouldn't be lifting, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be whatever it is, right? There's people who don't like everything, but it really is just a combination of everything that can turn you into that super high level athlete.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely understand that illusion of like you think you're gonna be the best, like you want to try to be the best athlete you can, because that is a great mindset. And no matter what the player you are, you have to think. you can beat everyone, and you have to be able to put the work behind you.
Completely agree. And I think I was ignorant to think that, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah,
I think it only helped me believing that I was going to get to that point. So I would encourage everybody to have that mindset of I like to believe that humans are capable of crazy things, and it's only impossible until someone does it. And then once someone does it, a lot of other people start to fall in line and do that. The 4 minute mile is like a big example of that, obviously, but I'm sure there's plenty of other examples of nobody probably thought someone was going to throw 100 miles an hour until they did
yeah,
all these things, right? So why not be the guy to prove that it's possible?
yeah, for sure. Um, I think that's a lot of what I wanted to talk to you today about. You did awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, bro. It was fun. I'm glad you were reached out to me. Sorry it took me a while. You were in my hidden DMs. I don't know why. So I was like, sometimes have checked the requests, but there was nothing there. So I
No, it's
just
all
one
good.
day randomly went through the hidden DMs and you were in there, and I was like, oh, I'd love to do it. So
Every time I chat with like guys like you, like the older baseball players and guys that are more experienced, it's always a good time. You always learn. You always get something new out of it. So thank you.
of course, bro. I hope it helps out some other guys. I hope everybody was able to pick up something that might help them improve in their career. And if anybody, I mean, I love talking baseball with guys. If anybody ever sees this and wants to reach out to me, feel free to send me a message on Instagram or whatever it is. I love just talking baseball like this with everybody. So I'm
Yeah,
extremely passionate about it. I love helping others. And yeah, feel free to send me a message.
that's awesome. Best of luck to you, man. I hope you get into a league and hopefully get drafted.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Good luck with your college journey. I hope you find a good spot that's the best fit for you.
Yeah, thank you.